How often do you walk from one end of your house to the other end to fetch or do something, and when you get there, you cannot remember what that was? Identify? Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not alone. Here's another example. In fact, close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you're standing on a very busy street corner during the evening rush hour. Cars and taxis are hooting and rushing around. You can hear police and ambulance sirens as if they're right next to you. It's unnerving. People are talking loudly, lights are flashing, motorcar lights, billboards, traffic lights. This is sensory overwhelm. Open your eyes, please. Sensory overwhelm is what happens in our brains when there's just too much going on. I'm sure you can identify. I'm going to talk to you about reclaiming your focus in a world designed to pull you in every direction. For us, this is very personal. Our daughter Jenna Evelyn was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 21. The 10 years prior to that first accurate diagnosis was chaos. I cannot begin to describe it to you. Our home was a war zone. People with ADHD suffer from executive dysfunction. And because of low dopamine levels, low motivation, wandering mind, and low emotional control or emotional dysregulation. Like computers, our brains can and do crash or freeze. Like your hard drive can freeze, your brain can do that too. You can call it whatever you like, but it impacts people in many different ways. To call it debilitating is an understatement. Mental paralysis is when the thoughts, information, and emotions create sensory overload. There's just too much going on all at the same time. Choice paralysis is when there are too many choices. They overthink, overanalyze, and for fear of making the wrong decision, they do nothing. Task paralysis is when they're hesitant or scared or just unmotivated to start the job. They're unable to listen, make decisions, they overthink, overanalyze. Most of the time, they suffer from severe overwhelm. They're unable to start, prioritize, or manage projects or tasks. They suffer from rapid mood or emotional changes, poor time management. They're unable to focus completely, get distracted, jump from task to task, lose their train of thought mid-sentence. And then they're unable to follow through on instructions, organize materials, documents, and then there are those careless mistakes that can drive the rest of us, whose brains are wired differently, to distraction. So that is essentially the difference between the neurotypical brain and the neurodiverse brain. What you've just seen here are typical symptoms of the avoidance cycle of ADHD. It leads to low self-esteem, negative self-belief, and a sense of failure. Now, understanding how you're impacted and how they're impacted helps us to devise strategies to cope better with these things. It's not all doom and gloom if you happen to have an ADHD brain, by the way. They have a few interesting pros, benefits, unique strengths, and in this case, I want to talk about the capacity to hyperfocus. It's a state of intense, prolonged concentration. It could be a blessing or curse, depending on how you channel it. But knowing how to harness hyperfocus means you can get things done, and in no time. I'm going to briefly go through 12 easy strategies that we can all use, not just if you're ADHD. Have you ever felt like your brain has too many tabs open? It's very real, and especially if you're being bombarded by thoughts. Doing a daily brain dump or a thought dump is a great idea. Write down your thoughts, review them, eliminate the unnecessary ones, prioritize, organize, add a few deadlines, put it into your Google Calendar so you have the benefit of those auto reminders, and you're also able to track your progress. A written list is always a way better way to keep track and to organize things, much better than storing it all in your mind and then getting overwhelmed. Make sure that your goals and your work schedule is simple and in small bite-sized chunks. It avoids overwhelm. You can use a whiteboard, you can use sticky notes and stick them on your computer, your desk, your fridge, your mirror, wherever you will be reminded of what you need to keep in mind. I like using a checklist, and ticking a few things off here and there fuels my motivation. Adding individual deadlines or checkpoints also tricks your brain into creating a sense of urgency, which helps you get a lot more done. It's essentially about creating a sense of accomplishment and keeping momentum going. That way you retain focus quite well. Take breaks frequently, and when you do, get up and move. Use alarms to help you keep track of time, because it's so easy for that break to become an extended break and to become a super extended break before you're able to get back to the job again. Here's another weird one: stand when working. It actually increases cognitive performance. And yet another one: have walking meetings instead of sitting around a boardroom table. Walking meetings increases thinking, honest exchanges, focus, and productivity. Now, there's a truckload of research that's gone into this. We don't have time for that today. But you'll notice that the last 3 points I've mentioned all have to do with movement. Movement is great to channel nervous energy. It helps you improve memory, attention, and performance. Focus on completion, not perfection. We often get stuck trying to make the small bits perfect and get tangled up in all the details. Let go of the perfection. Rather, after each milestone, check the instructions that you're still on track. Be realistic as well about how much you can actually take on. I love color coding my to-do list. Code red means urgent and important. And if I can tick off 2 or 3 code reds, it's like, feels good. I'm getting somewhere. You want to create spaces between meetings, time buffers. It just gives you a few moments to process what's taken place. It keeps you calm. And then setting alarms is also way better than trying to remember everything, because that just disrupts the train of thought. If you're busy with a large, important project, limit the distractions. You might well want to find yourself a quiet corner or an empty room. Clear the desk, focus on one issue at a time, and then journal to park those distracting thoughts. It's always better to revisit that parking lot later on. You want to minimize triggers, so silence your phone. Those apps that go ping, ping, ping when you're trying to focus are no good. Anybody here use noise-canceling headphones? It's a nice way, isn't it? Really helps you focus. Body doubling is a fantastic productivity strategy. It simply means that you have a buddy alongside whom you work. Each of you doing your own thing, but it just helps you stay focused, keeps you accountable, and it's a lot more fun when you're working alongside somebody. Gamifying mundane tasks boosts motivation. For example, you could race against the clock when doing boring chores like housework. Or you can assign and collect points, which you can redeem later on for little rewards. Those are just for completed tasks. And then you get some super apps. Habitica is one, Forest perhaps another one, that are aimed at improving focus and reducing procrastination. Prioritize self-care. Do the things you love. Sometimes it's just a hot bath. Sometimes it's your favorite snack, or perhaps a nap. Explore creative hobbies and activities to relieve tension, clear your mind, inspire and energize you. Mental exhaustion, burnout and stress are one of the biggest causes of that mental paralysis that we spoke about earlier on. If you find that you're often groggy and mentally exhausted, you might want to do a bit of a lifestyle check. Things like sleep, exercise and diet are crucial when it comes to our minds and keeping them in tip-top shape and functioning well. Then the last point, seek support from people who have walked in your shoes. Break the cycle of shame, guilt and procrastination. There is no reason why paralysis should prevent you from pursuing ambitions, goals, things that you would like to achieve. There are strategies and treatments available. Support is available. You might want to take a look at these 12 easy strategies and see how you could modify them and implement them, fit them into your daily schedule and your lifestyle. But it takes time because you're creating new habits, you're forging new neural pathways. So be patient and be kind to yourself. We've lived through these struggles for a long time, and we understand the impact and how debilitating that can be when you are struggling to focus. This is a project between mother and daughter, neurodiverse generation and Catalyst. We work with neurodivergent individuals, parents, partners, teachers, employers, workplaces, to create spaces that are more neurodiverse friendly, that are accommodating and more inclusive. It's so easy to be judgmental and critical. But if we had to discount these people and move them out of our lives, we'll be cancelling out people like the Einsteins, the Thomas Edisons, and so many other really, truly brilliant people that have made a major impact in the world that we live in today. There is much to be said for an environment that actually welcomes these people and creates a home for them where they can be comfortable, productive individuals. In the words of Albert Einstein, the soul given to each of us is moved by the same living spirit that moves the universe. Here are our contact details. We'd love to hear from you.